Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Road to TD Garden. My name is Gage Nutter, and I'm a high school sports reporter with Mass Live here in the studios of Franklin TV in Franklin, Massachusetts. Super excited for today's bracket breakdown show. We have the brackets for boys and girls hockey, all 6 divisions. We got 4 divisions in boys hockey. There's 2 in girls hockey. Will we have 6 new state champions? Will there be repeat champions? We're going to find out here in the next month. It's going to be a really fun day today. We have these brackets. They're fresh off the printers. If I'm out of breath, it's because I was running back and forth getting them off the printer, Pete. But we're here now, super excited. And speaking of Pete, here with Pete Royce from Franklin TV. Pete, how are you doing today?
Good, Gage. So excited. This is the best time of year, right? Playoff hockey coming up. It should be a tremendous season. There are 224 teams in hockey playoff action across the state of Massachusetts. When you look at all of the players, that's something like 3,140 players in hockey. We're going to try to find that winning way here in 2025.
Wow, and when it comes to high school postseason, these kids, these student athletes, you only get 4 years of this. You know, maybe some 5, 6, maybe if you're playing some junior high, but this is, this opportunity, if you're a high school athlete to win a state championship, this doesn't come along every year. So all these student athletes, they're going to do their best to try and etch their name in history this postseason. We're going to have champions here within the next month. And before we break down these brackets, Pete, which, like I said, fresh off the printers, we haven't even really looked at them. We're going to break them down with you at home, all of you, me and Pete here for the next hour. But before we do that, a brief message from MIAA Executive Director Bob Baldwin.
Welcome to our winter bracket release show, where we get together with our friends at Franklin TV and Mass Live and all of our media, athletic directors, coaches, student athletes, and building principals to make this work. It's ultimately the road to the Tsonga Center and ultimately the road to the Garden for the finals. But all those experiences and games in between are so exciting. So sit back and relax and enjoy our second annual bracket release show.
Thank you so much to Dr. Baldwin for that message. Like I said, Pete, let's just get right into this thing. We're going to take a look first at Division II, the Division II girls hockey brackets. Before we get into some of the top seeds and where everybody is sitting at, let's take a look at those teams that were on the bubble. And again, we're looking at this the first time along with everybody else. Who snuck in at the bottom? Those teams up top, we know about Westwood, number 1 in Division II. Not a lot of surprises there. Great power rating. They blew out a lot of teams this year. They're winning on average by almost 3 goals a game. They fell in the Sweet 16 last year, but they came back strong this winter in Division II. That's why Westwood is number 1. But let's just take a look at those teams that found their way in. Stoneham at number 30. They're going to play Woburn, and Woburn, I'm looking at this, Pete, they're number 3 for their round of 32 game. Last year, Woburn had that first round exit. They were seeded number 23, and they said, okay, well, let's not do that ever again. So then they're like, let's have a great regular season and get seeded number 3. So the ladies over at Woburn are locked in for their first round game against Stoneham. Taking a look at those other teams that found their way in, Beverly, the 28th seed, they're playing number 5, Burlington, in their round of 32 game. Walpole, representing the Bay State Conference, they're going to have Westwood in that round of 32 game. So best of luck to the Lady Timberwolves in that one. I'm seeing Newburyport, number 31. They're going to play Duxbury in that round of 32 game. The Dragons, they're the reigning champs. So best of luck to Newburyport in that first round game. What else do we have here? Looking around, Dedham getting in at number 27, power rated. They're playing another Bay State Conference program in Milton. And what jumps out to you, Pete?
I'd say the Hanover-Marshfield matchup should be pretty good. Hanover at 26. They'll be underdogs against Marshfield at number 7. And then also Whitman-Hanson Regional against Falmouth. 24 there for Whitman, number 9 for Falmouth. I like the teams in the middle. You look at the teams at the top, you say, okay, they're highly favored. But look what you said about what happened last year to Woburn. Right. Some team from the middle could emerge and make a run at it here in March.
Absolutely. Taking another look here, I see Auburn at number 8. They're going to play Longmeadow, number 25, in their first round game. Algonquin, is Algonquin in this mix, or am I looking? Or that might be the.
Yeah, they're in number 4. Yeah.
Number 4. And so we had so many teams here that could, here in this bracket that could go on to win a state championship. But Algonquin, they made it to the Final Four last year. They're back and ready for more. So that's Division II. Another, just a great field once again this year in D2. Like I said, Duxbury, they're the reigning champions. They're back again as the number 2 seed. So those Dragons are going to look to hopefully pick up another state championship. And before we move over into Division 1, I think we're going to have a little convo here. Do we got Methuen girls hockey on the line? We got Lydia Barnes. We got Brenna Lawrence in the building.
Hi.
Welcome, ladies. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Maybe you can introduce yourself so we know which one is which. Who is Lydia?
I'm Lydia.
Lydia, okay, the great goalkeeper, and you must be Brenna. That's the process of elimination. Yes. Okay. So let's get into your season. 16-1-3. What was it like here in the season for you both? Let's start with you, Lydia.
It's been a lot of fun, and it's honestly a great experience. We've been pretty successful, and it's a great thing to be a part of.
Yeah, and your view on it, Brenna?
It's been a lot of really tight games. Again, it is a lot of fun, really competitive teams we're playing. But sticking with our team, we're just working hard day in and day out. It's been a lot of fun. I
want to talk to you about those tight games. You had 3 ties, only 1 loss, but 3 ties. That must have been something. North Andover 2-2, Andover 1-1, and Boston Latin 0-0. In goal, what is that like for you, Lydia? In goal, every one of those plays, could determine a winner or a loser. You must have been very tough in the nets.
Yes, it's definitely a little nerve-wracking, but I got my team in front of me, so I feel pretty confident in them and their abilities to help me out whenever I need it.
Yeah, and Brenna, as the captain, what is special about your team here? What do you like about the culture of your team?
I love how we rely on each other. We really rely on our goalie and our defense. We know that even as forwards, when we can't get that extra puck in the net, that our D are solid and they're behind us. So getting all those ties really shows that.
What's the mix of your team in terms of seniors, juniors, sophomores, freshmen, and all that?
We have more underclassmen. We only have 4 seniors this year, wow. So we have a lot of younger girls that are going to be making their way up.
We also have 2 8th graders as well.
No kidding. Yeah, that's great. Sounds like the future is pretty bright for Methuen hockey. Talk about 7 shutouts, Lydia. What is your key back there in goal? How have you created those 7 shutouts? And when you look at it, 7 shutout wins. You also had a shutout tie, 0-0. But what's the key for getting those shutouts?
I definitely try to work hard every time at practice, and I try to focus on one thing every practice, whether it be my rebounds or my angles, which has really helped me. And in games, I'm really just focusing on what I'm doing and making sure that I help out my team. So
yeah, that's great. 7 shutouts, it's amazing. You guys were rolling. I think you're just 3 ties leading up to the last game. Then you had your first loss on the last game of the season, I believe, to was it Reading? Reading, right? The last game of the season. What was that game? A tight game, another tight game, Brenna. You lost 2-1.
Oh, yeah, that really was a tight game. But we aren't hanging our heads too much on that. We knew it would come. We were obviously looking for that undefeated record. But overall, we thought we played pretty decently. It's nothing to be too upset over, and that's just going to push us even harder in the playoffs. Now we know what that feels like, and we don't want that to happen again.
So I guess you could say maybe a good loss in the way that it's going to motivate you, right? So you're playing hockey. Tell us about people watching in, young girls watching. What is it about the game of hockey that you like that you would encourage other girls to follow in your footsteps? Let's start with you, Lydia.
I really enjoy just the culture of it and the fact that no one can do it by themselves, and a team is a team, and you have to everyone has to work together to get to the goal that they want. So.
And how about you, Brenna? What are your words of advice for young kids wanting to lace up the skates?
Yeah, I completely agree with Lydia. It's a team sport, and I think especially watching our team with like so little players, like everyone has such an important role and we're all there to pick each other up.
Your opponent is going to be Central Catholic. I don't know if you knew that, but they're the number 27 seed, so you guys are number 6, and you'll be playing Central. They're 15-5-0. Do you know anything about Central Catholic?
I know that they're a pretty good team, and they have a bunch of good skaters, and their goalie's pretty good as well. So I think it'll be a really good game.
Yeah, and so that's a team kind of hanging out in the weeds at 27, and we heard earlier today that teams can spring upsets. You have to be careful of that. Finally, Brenda, how would you say the school has gotten behind Methuen girls hockey? And by the way, are you a co-op with Tewksbury or just yourselves?
Yeah, we are a co-op with Tewksbury.
Okay, so how's the school spirit?
It's good. We tried to get people to come and support. Our senior night was we had a lot of supporters there. It was a lot of fun. But overall, we love combining with the two towns. It makes it like even better.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Lydia Barnes and Brenna Lawrence, we thank you for coming on. We wish you all the best here in the hockey tournament. You're the number 6 seed, and we hope you go a long way. Thanks for joining us here today on our bracket analysis show.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, there you have it, Gage. 2 pretty exciting youngsters. Their team 16-1-3, and tough bracket. You have Hingham High and Notre Dame of Hingham up there in the top spots, and so they'll have some stiff competition if they want to carry it to the end.
Yeah, interesting just looking at it. You mentioned from Methuen, their first round game being against Central Catholic. I wonder a little bit of a geographical rivalry, maybe a little bit. Central Catholic just there in Lawrence, right over in their sort of backyard a little bit. So that should be a really interesting first round game. But yeah, I guess good transition to look at this D1 bracket, Pete. We just talked to Methuen, round of 16 last year. Now, the number 6 seed in this year's bracket. I know you mentioned Hingham. I think they have one tie against Duxbury, which is not a bad team to tie with. So they locked down that number 1 seed. And another thing that jumps out to me, if I'm looking at Malden Catholic, another team that had a pretty good year. Ava Baker has been scoring the heck out of the puck for Malden Catholic. So that jumps out to me. I'll have to find their first round matchup. They got Westford Academy. Yep. So Malden Catholic locked down that number 3 seed. And as I look around, just looking at other teams that were able to sneak in, Arlington Catholic's at 25. Pope Francis at 24. Pope Francis is a young program. I think it's just their 4th year or 4th or 5th year as a program. Chris Connors out in Western Massachusetts has been leading that program, and now once again I think in the postseason after a berth last year. Franklin at 29, Brookline at 28. What jumps out to you when you're looking at this page?
Well, the fact is that Methuen Tewksbury Combine, they've had some familiarity with some of these teams. For example, in the bracket is North Andover, and Methuen had a tie with them 2-2. In the bracket is Andover. Methuen had a tie with them 1-1. So there's going to be a lot of familiarity. I think this is a tight bracket. It's wide open. You mentioned the great year that Hingham has had, and so I'm sure all these other schools they're really looking at, well, what do we know about these players, and how can we best put our strategy together to come out with a victory? So it should be great.
Right, that's always the most exciting, one of the more exciting things for me looking at postseason brackets is when you get a team or 2 teams that have already played each other once or twice.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, maybe we played on a Wednesday in December. It was early on in the season, but now here we are months later. It's not only at this point in the season, our team's a little bit different from the way they were 2 months ago. The stakes are also raised as well. I do want to shout out, looking at Newton North, they locked down that number 31 seed. They're going to play Notre Dame, Hingham in the round of 32. These last 2 years, Newton North had 4 wins combined their last 2 years, now above 500, and they're in that postseason. They co-op with Newton South, so they say, okay, if we have any sort of rivalry here, Newton North, Newton South, whatever, we're just Newton. So they, I think they call themselves the Orange Crush, are now in the round of 32. Natick jumps out to me, obviously one of the best in the Bay State Conference. Natick is this year. They locked down that number 13 seed. They're going to have Shawshene Valley Tech in their round of 32 game. Sophia Leone, she's been amazing as an underclassman goalie back there between the pipes. For Natick, their only conference loss, I think, came against Milton early on in the year. And then up front, you got Jordan Giadomenico. She's 5 foot tall, but it doesn't matter. She's scoring goals. She's scoring 20, or had 20 points last year as an underclassman, and she just has kind of kept the ball, or I guess the puck, rolling here during this regular season and going into the postseason. So that's Division One. I'm really excited to see how this one develops. Like you said, a lot of familiarity between a lot of these teams, especially that Methuen Central Catholic. I'm going to have to keep my eye on that. But although we do like to think we know everything, Pete, let's bring in some other people that might know a thing or two about girls hockey. So I want to bring in Mike Puzangera from the Boston Globe to do some girls hockey chat. Do we got Mike here?
Yeah, hey Gage, how you doing?
Doing well, Mike. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm sure just as you've been with us, just as the brackets came out about half an hour ago, you probably got a couple tabs open saying, okay, who's where, who's what are we looking at in the round of 32? I know for you, you've been all over Eastern Massachusetts this winter. You've been in plenty of rinks. You've had to bundle up to sort of brave the cold in rinks across Eastern Massachusetts, and you've seen a lot of these programs. So I'm interested when it comes to you, if we could just, I guess, talk Division One a little bit, just as Pete and I did, taking a look at these. Hingham at number 1, you got NDA at number 2, North Andover at 4, Archbishop Williams at 5. When you see this bracket, what jumps out to you? What are you the most interested in sort of figuring out here during these next few weeks?
Well, I mean, I think there are just so many incredible teams, especially in this D1 bracket. You know, it's heavy at the top. You've got a lot of talent, but there are so many seeds that are, you know, from that middle of the pack kind of range that could definitely make a run deep into the tournament. So I think it's always fun to, you know, see who the surprises are, see what team that, you know, is, you know, a higher seed ends up winning a couple games and making a run of things. I mean, last year across the two girls hockey divisions, we had 2 11 seeds make it to the semifinals. So there's always something that happens like that, and it's so much fun to watch. And we got a lot of great first round matchups too that I'm really excited for.
And Mike, I'm interested to know, so when it comes to the players you've seen, the difference makers, the people out there on the ice, whether they be scoring goals, whether they be dishing to their teammates, whether they're making crazy saves between the pipes. You've been out there and you've been at quite a few games these last few months. Who are some of the student athletes that people out there, if they're tuning in to maybe around a 32 game here in the next few days, who are some players that might jump out, whether it be between Division 1, Division 2 girls hockey? Who are some players that might make their mark here in the next month or so?
Yeah, well, we can start with the Division 1, and when you look at the top seed in Hingham, Caroline Doherty is a fantastic forward, really great natural scorer, and she's having another amazing year. She's had such a great career over at Hingham. Notre Dame is the number 2 seed. Sarah White is another really talented forward that made her mark in last year's postseason, having another great season this year. Malden Catholic as the 3. Gage, you mentioned her already. Ava Baker is, you know, one of the best defenders in the state, and she's continued to play well. She's one of the most clutch players out there. If you saw anything last year, she scored some great late goals. North Andover, Paige Nottingham is a fantastic D that's, you know, super fast, you know, lightning on her skates, really fun to watch. And we'll shout out the Methuen-Tewksbury girls who joined us earlier. Lydia Barnes has been nails in goal all year long. So excited to see them get back at it. Looking over at D2, you got Westwood as the top seed, and Kate Sullivan is having an unbelievable season for them. I mean, she just scores practically every time she touches the puck. So that's been really fun to watch. Look over at Duxbury, 2-time reigning state champ. One of their best players, Sammy Norton at D, is just locked down every time she steps on the ice. She's really fantastic to watch. And I mean, there's just so many incredible players to follow and to see. You look at a team like Burlington at the 5 seed that has a super small roster, a super young roster, and they have 1 senior on that team. Caitlin Tremblay, who's a phenomenal player, and leads them as they go, as they made a late run in the season and got up to a 5 seed. So that's just some of them. I promise you, show up to any of these games, there are going to be so many players that stand out to you. There's just so much talent all across the state.
Wow, awesome. Well, we're looking forward to seeing it these next few days. It's going to be pretty nuts. All these round of 32 games, whether it be Division I, boys hockey, girls hockey, between all these divisions. I mean, we got 6 of them between boys and girls. There's going to be a lot of hockey played here in the next few days. There's going to be some upsets. There's going to be some great individual performances, but we're looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Mike, for joining us. Maybe we'll see you on a rink or see you at a rink here soon.
Thanks, Gage and Pete. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And now, as we move forward from girls hockey, we're going to take a look at boys hockey. And to kick us off, Pete, we would do such an amazing job kicking it off, but I want to bring in somebody else who knows a lot about hockey, boys and girls, really, in the state. It's Tom Mulheron from the Boston Herald. Tom, do we got you?
I'm right here, Gage. It's nice to see you guys.
Nice to see you, Tom. Now it's a party. We got Tom in the building. So these, as we said before the show started, I was working double time. I was getting these off the printers. So we're probably taking a look at this the same time as you, but I figured nobody better to kind of come in and kick off this conversation about boys hockey than you. So when it comes to, we got 4 divisions. I'm just looking at D4 right now. Top seed Stoneham, not really a surprise. And then you got Nauset in D3 at the number 1 seed. They just had that big win the other day to solidify their spot. I think they beat Medfield, 2 undefeated teams at the time. They locked that down to get the number 1 seed. Billerica, number 1 in D2. And then the Pride of Western Massachusetts, number 1, Pope Francis in Division 1. So, Tom, there's a lot of teams here. There's a lot of great players that you've seen across the state, especially in Eastern Massachusetts this winter. But I guess if we're going to start in Division 1, St. John's Prep, they're the reigning state champions. Pope Francis, they won it the year before. Before that, looking at Division 1, what has jumped out to you the most, I guess just during this season, and when it comes to the Division 1 field? So many great teams, very deep. Who are the teams to watch in Division 1 for you, and why?
That's an excellent question. And I think there's not a single coach that I talked to in D1 that felt comfortable saying 1 or 2 teams that they think will end up going the distance, because it's so wide open. And something that I was just thinking about was it's really interesting to see all the rematches that are going to be coming up, because with the power rankings now, everybody wants to play the best teams that they can to boost their ranking, and also, obviously prepare themselves for the tournament. But there are just so many rematches in the first 2 rounds that could add a lot of juice to this. But obviously, Pope Francis has looked really strong all year. They've had a couple of losses to some teams that are dangerous. Catholic Memorial's playing really well. They're on an 8-game unbeaten streak. St. John's Prep, they had a little bit of a rocky start, but it was against really good teams, so it's hard to even call that a rocky start. But obviously, the reigning champs are very much a candidate to do it again. And really, anyone in the Middlesex League is a sleeper or not even a sleeper, but a candidate to go far. Arlington, when they've been healthy, has looked like a force. Belmont is very dangerous. Winchester is the 11th seed, and just like they were last year, and we saw what they did last year, and they've had a lot of really good performances too. So it's just, you could go down the list. I didn't even say, you could say like 20 of these teams that are real candidates to make their mark. So it's going to be very entertaining and very unpredictable what's going to be going on.
Right, and Lydia from Medfield Girls Hockey mentioned it earlier, that when it comes to hockey, it's a team sport. You really need everybody to do their part, but when you get to the postseason, sometimes you need your star players to play like star players in this tournament. So again, just like you said, whether it be Division 1 through 4, there's a long list of anybody that could really step up and sort of ascend, and I'm sure the same goes for the number of difference makers that are really going to be in this field. Pete mentioned the number of student athletes that are going to be vying for a state championship this year. So a lot of great student athletes in that group. But when it comes to the teams that you've seen, the ones you've seen in person, braving the elements in these rinks across Eastern Massachusetts, who are the ones that you've seen in person, whether it be this year or just in the last year or so, that is going to be in this playoff field that people should keep an eye on? Who are the difference makers that are really going to try their hardest to will their teams to a state championship this year?
Yeah, like you said, there's just so many that it's hard to narrow down. But I've actually seen Arlington a lot this year, and JP Missouri is just a phenomenal forward. And him and Nolan Russell together are just unbelievable to watch. And that whole team, they play really hard, and it's really fun to see. Belmont, I've seen a bunch too, and that top line is as good as it gets. And Ethan Bauer in net is just a rock. St. John's Prep, they're really well balanced. Ryan DeLucia, Ryan DeLucia, he's made his mark in a lot of games. Liam Dolan is a complete forward for Pope Francis. Foley can't say enough about him. Looking at this list, Luke Long has had some really big goals in big games for Catholic Memorial recently. Cam McKenna is a talented forward for Hingham. Drew Karlovitz, I believe I'm saying it right, for BC High. He's a solid goaltender. But it's just like I'm going down this list, and it's like you could say a million of these players, right? So it's going to be a really fun tournament to watch.
Right. I mean, it's the depth of talent, not just the talent individually, but the teams. It's going to be exciting to see. Can St. John's Prep reload and do it again? Can Winchester maybe get over the top? This year is Pope Francis, so they're going to be state champions in D1 again after last year's win by St. John's Prep. We're going to find out here in the next month. So thank you so much, Tom, for joining us. Maybe we'll see you at a rink around here in the next month or so as well.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for having me, guys. Take care.
All right. Thank you to Tom. What a great appetizer before we ourselves dive into these brackets ourselves, Pete.
You just have to be impressed with how many players he knows of, firsthand.
That's right.
And, he's really been there. He's had some teams that he's followed a lot, but he really spans, we said 3,200 players in hockey are in this tournament.
And Tom probably knows all of them, too. He
might
might know all of them. Tom might. So shout out to Tom again for coming through. But so once again, great appetizer by Tom. But let's get into it. Division IV boys hockey state tournament bracket. We've got it here. Looking at the teams before we get to the hot shots up top, let's look at the teams that made it in and will be playing preliminary round games. Taconic, the pride of the Berkshires, made it in, the 34 seed. They're going to play number 31, Dennis Yarmouth. Oh, warm up the bus. There you go. Go from the Berkshires to DY. Yep, put some gas in the tank, everybody.
That game would be at Dennis Yarmouth, right?
Yeah, seemingly, yeah. So get some gas in the tank. Maybe get mom to pack some peanut butter and jellies. Get some Cheez-Its. Take your nap. There you go. Tape your stick maybe in the back seat. So they're going to be well on their way playing Dennis Yarmouth in a preliminary game. And then you got Keefe Tech taking on Monomoy in a preliminary game. And so Keefe Tech 35 seed, Monomoy 30. So Keefe Tech will be on the road. And then you got Tri-County taking on Burncoats. Tri-County being the number 33 seed, Burncoat number 32. So those are the ones in the 30s that made it. But if I look at that top seed, I see Stoneham, which to nobody's surprise, Stoneham being the number 1 seed, if I remember correctly, fell to Hanover in double overtime last year in the Final Four. I'd imagine they also said, okay, let's not do that again. So they came back with a vengeance this year, got the top seed. They have one of the more packed schedules as well in Division IV. Really, really good power rating for them. They want their first state title in program history, so they're going for it. But Hanover is sitting there at number 2, so could we see a rematch of that Final Four game? Who knows? Dover Sherborne, they're the reigning champs. They're back once again in the mix with the number 3 seed. They're going to play the winner of Keefe Tech and Monomoy in their round of 32 game. And if I take another look here, we got Winthrop in the mix. They were the top seed last year and strong program, so they locked down another top 5 seed there, number 5. They're going to play Apponequet Regional in their round of 32 game. And I see Greenfield, I think another team holding the torch high for Western Massachusetts in Division 4. That'll be a fun one, round of 32. They're the 17 seed. They're playing number 16 Sandwich. So 17 and 16, that's another one where you got to maybe pack the peanut butter and jellies and get on the bus. But what do you think, Pete? What jumps out to you?
Well, you have Littleton, a number 4 seed, very strong against Bourne, so that'll be another Cape Cod team involved. Bourne is hot in all kinds of sports. And Martha's Vineyard against Northeast Metro. That's another nice, interesting matchup, 14 versus 19. You get into the middle of the bracket, and anything can happen. Somebody gets a little extra kick, and they're off and running. And certainly Medway and Cohasset, another interesting matchup, a 7 seed and a 26 seed. And Norwell and Abington, right around that middle rank, Norwell 12 and Abington 21. So just some great matchups. Of course, all those preliminary games mean so much, and then all they have to do then is move on to one of the top 4 teams. That's what they face, but they want to get by those initial games.
Right. Well, what an interesting Division 4 bracket it is. And before we move forward to Division 3, I think we're going to have a little chit-chat here with Stoneham boys hockey, the top seeders. Stoneham. Do we got Stoneham in the building?
Yep.
Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Great. They look great. So we'll have you introduce yourselves, guys, and why don't we start there and go ahead. I know we have Sebastian, Jacob, Chris, and Mike. Please introduce yourselves and tell us what position you play and what year you are in Stoneham High School.
I'm Chris. I'm a junior and I play defense. I'm Jacob. I'm a senior and I play center.
I'm Sebastian. I'm a senior and I play defense.
Well, Mike, I'm a junior and I play left wing.
Okay, great. So have you at 14 and 6, number 1 seed? Congratulations. What's been your year like? You can just jump in. Let me just say who you are. Sebastian Christo, Jacob Minsk, Chris Giacchetto, and Mike Taranto. What about your season? How has it gone? You started, you lost your few first out of the gate, but then you righted the ship and you won your next 7, then up and down. Finished very strong with 5 wins in a row. Can you describe your season, guys? Anybody can jump in?
We kind of just took it one game at a time. We went 0-3 and we knew we had to figure something out. It took us a little bit to buy in, but once we did, we just tried to keep building off games and keep it going and just stay humble the whole way through.
Yeah, that's great. How would you describe the style of play that Stoneham plays on the ice?
We play a hard game, put pucks in deep, put pucks on net, just finish our hits, just keep it simple.
And how long have you guys been playing? Maybe each of you can highlight how long when you first laced up your skates and took to the ice and played a little hockey.
We've all been skating since like 4 years old, so it's been a while. I think I could say that for everyone. Yeah.
Somebody said Bobby Orr, the great Bruins, learned to skate before he could learn to walk. Is that true for you guys?
Probably not. Definitely close.
Yeah. So you lost your first 3, won 7 in a row, and then you kind of lost a couple, won a couple, but you finished strong. What about those last 5 games? I guess you had some pretty good contests in there, but you were able to run the table. You finished out in style with those 5 straight wins. Can you walk us through those last 5 games, guys?
Well, we knew it was, time to keep getting to work. The final 5 games, those are very important before playoffs. And we knew we had to go out there and give it our all every game just to be prepared for whatever's coming our way.
You've had some high-scoring games. I know you won your last game over Cambridge Rindge and Latin, usually a strong school, 8-2. Did everybody on the ice get a goal in that game, or what? How was it so wide open to pull up 8 goals in that one?
I mean, we just kind of stuck to our system throughout the whole game. We just put everything on net, and it worked out.
And you also had another 8-goal win against Was it Wakefield? I think 8-1. Was that comparable to the Cambridge Ringe and Latin score with putting up all of those goals? I have a little bit of a technical glitch here. There we go.
It's just kind of the same, putting pucks on net. We try and play every game as hard as we can, so just stick to our system and play every team the same way. It doesn't matter who we're playing. It just matters how we play.
And also, I'd like to hear from you guys on what's the benefit of playing hockey. Why do you love the game so much? Could we hear from everybody?
Just being together with the team, just a good group of kids, just being close, just making memories for a lifetime together.
Yeah, it's just a fun sport to play, especially when things are going right for you.
Just a battle every night. It's fun to go out there with your brothers like every night and battle for something special. You know, you don't get this opportunity a lot, so we're just grateful to be in this position.
It's just fun going to the rink every day, skating with your best friends, just doing what you love.
You've had 14 wins on the season. How do you typically celebrate a victory after a game? What do you do?
I'll just play some music, but you know, like proud of like how you work, but it's right on to the next game after that, you know.
Do any of you guys have any ambitions for going on after you get out of after you graduate from Stoneham High School?
Go to college, maybe play club hockey.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
All right. So your opponent is going to be a play-in game between Burncoat, a 32 seed, Burncoat out of Worcester, and Tri-County Regional Vocational Tech. What do you make of that matchup? Do you know anything about those two teams?
We don't know much, but it just doesn't matter who we play. We just got to stick to our plan. Every game is just just focus on ourselves. No matter what happens, just focus on us.
All right. And last question, what about the school spirit at Stoneham High School? Is the school behind the Stoneham boys hockey team?
A little bit, you know. We're trying to get it going a little bit more, but hopefully we get some people coming to this next game. That would be huge.
All right. Well, you're the number 1 seed, so I know you have big expectations. We wish you all the best going forward. Sebastian Christo, Jacob Minsk, Chris Giacchetto, and Mike Taranto under your head coach, Paul Sacco. Good luck, boys, and have a great tournament.
Thank you.
Okay, that's Stoneham High boys, the number 1 seed gauge in the boys Division 4, and looks like they're ready to roll.
Yeah, they're all business. They got their button-ups on, their uniform. They got the whole thing locked and loaded. They are ready for to figure out who their opponent is going to be, whether it's going to be Burncoat or Tri-County. So best of luck to the fellows over at Stoneham in the Division 4 bracket. And now we take a look at Division 3. Looking at Division 3, what interests me the most, I was taking a look. It's been a different state champion each of the last 5 years, if I remember correctly, in Division 3. So it's not one of those where it's like, oh, we got a back-to-back state champion coming, or, you know, I mean, there are perennial powers in this division, but there's a lot of parity in this division. So taking a quick look at the preliminary round for teams that were above 500 and found their way into the state tournament, it looks like we have 3 preliminary games. We got number 34 Assabet Valley taking on number 31 Somerville. The winner of that will play Medfield in the round of 32. And as we look further down, looking at another preliminary matchup, we got Amherst taking on Foxborough in a preliminary round game. They will play, the winner of that will play Essex North Shore. And looking at the third and the final preliminary round game, number 33 Middleborough taking on number 32 Ludlow. And the winners of that will take on the top seed Nauset. But just looking at this, number 1 Nauset, number 2 Medfield, they just played a couple of days ago in their regular season finales. Going into the game, both undefeated. It was probably a postseason preview, although they are on opposite sides of the bracket here, but who knows if things progress, if they make it to the title game. Nauset won 3-0, but Medfield, as you'd imagine, just another sort of perennial power. Made it to the Elite Eight last year. Like I said, only lost this season was Nauset just a few days back, and that's nothing to sneeze at. Nauset, a phenomenal program. They're a team you could very well see, again, making a deep run. They have double-digit seniors. I think it's 11 seniors. So plenty of vets on that group. I see Marblehead, the number 8 seed. They're going to play number 25 Blackstone Valley Tech in the round of 32. They are the reigning champs, so that is where their title defense will start. It'll start at home against Blackstone Valley. I'm looking at Melrose. They were seeded 30th last year. I think did they make it in? Yeah, the number 7 seed. They were seeded 30th last year. Now Melrose, number 7. They got their home game. They're taking on Holliston in the round of 32. Holliston, the number 26 seed. So a lot of intrigue here. What's jumping out to you at all here in D3?
I think you look at the top, the strength of a team like Medfield, number 2, that's going to be a great bracket for them. They'll have some competition with Essex North Shore, the number 3 seed. And looking at who's kind of hanging out there, Bedford, a strong number 6. And so they'll have West Springfield, which would be a good matchup for them. Then we have the Methuen girls on earlier. The Methuen boys ranked number 11 in the latest power ranking, out just this morning. They'll take on Wakefield, so that should be pretty good. On the other side of the bracket, in the Nauset regional bracket, you have Scituate and Norton, 4-29, and Dracut and North Quincy, 9-24, and Taunton. It's just a huge school. They're one of the biggest schools around, and they'll be having to face Bishop Stang. So that's a good matchup in there. So it's a nice bracket. 35 teams are in it, and they'll be vying for, whittling it down. They'll have to get through those preliminary rounds, then the round of 32 and on through. But it's certainly shaping up to be a possible 1-2 matchup in the finals between Nauset and Medfield, barring any big upsets, which could very well happen.
Sure. I mean, this is that time of year. In the state postseason, you never know what could happen. I know you mentioned, some teams in the teens that could shock us, or maybe shock us, but maybe not. Maybe not be a shock for themselves. Those teams that are in the teens. Whether you're 15, 16, 17, 18, some teams might say, oh, they got this win against a single digit or a top 5 seed. Might be surprised to others, but not surprises to those teams. But speaking of, one of the top teams in this bracket, we mentioned Medfield, as we should, being one of the top programs, not only in this division, but in the state. And speaking of them, I think we got Medfield boys hockey on the line. We got Jack, Ben, Joey, and Charlie in the building.
How's it going?
How's it going, gentlemen? Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for joining the show. I think I have that right, Jack, Ben, Joey, and Charlie. But if we could go down the line here, starting at the end, and just introduce yourselves, what positions you play, and what grade you are this year.
Hey, I'm Charlie Duggan. I'm a senior, and I'm the goalie.
I'm Jack Waltney, senior. I play right wing.
I'm Ben Lusby. I'm a senior, and I play defense.
I'm Joey Nee. I'm a senior, and I play forward.
Well, welcome to the show, gentlemen. You've put together quite a body of work this regular season. Great win-loss draw record this year. Really set the tone from beginning to end. I know you guys had that Nauset game the other day. That must have felt like a postseason game in a lot of ways. Although it didn't go your guys' way, I'm sure that was a good primer for what's coming here in the state postseason. But I'm just interested, when it comes to you and with Medfield hockey, such a strong program year in and year out. This isn't no one-time deal when it comes to Medfield hockey. You guys are familiar with being in this position, being one of the top dogs in your division. But I guess we want to start with Jack, I guess. Jack, when it comes to your perspective on this year's group, I'm sure you've been a part of a couple of Medfield hockey teams, but what makes this year's group a little bit different, do you think?
Yeah, we got a new coach this year. For us seniors, we've had about 4 coaches out of our 4 years in high school. But this guy we got now, he's good. Everybody wants to play for him. And I feel like this year, everybody's closer in the locker room, outside of the locker room, than we usually are. It's a very close group.
Cool. And so I guess, Ben, I got something for you. I guess I'm curious about coming into this year. I'm always interested to know when it sort of starts to come together for a team, or it's sort of understood like, hey, we could really kind of have another really good year here this year? Was there a moment for you or for you guys where you kind of thought like, hey, we could really have ourselves, quite a year this year? Was there a particular win for you guys where you were, if it was a road game, were you on the bus on the way back being like, hey, we have a pretty good group here? Or was there anything like that? When did you guys know that this year could be maybe a little bit something different, Ben?
I would say in the beginning of the season, we were in a tournament, and we played Marblehead, and we got a nice win. And on the way back, it felt pretty good. So I feel like we realized we had something special there.
Cool. And I guess curious to know, and this one's for Joey. I know I mentioned that Nauset game. Again, I can only imagine the atmosphere in that rink just a few days ago. It probably felt like a playoff game, probably felt like a little bit of a primer here for what this postseason is going to feel like. I imagine, you guys plenty of wins this year. You got plenty of wins to go around, but I imagine you can learn a lot from losses too. So when it comes to that game, just right before the postseason, what do you guys hope to learn and take from that game moving forward into the postseason?
Yeah, so we can take away a couple things. Like, we just got to be better in front of their net and just get greasy goals, because playoffs is a tough environment. So just got to get pucks to the net and finish. Got you.
And gentlemen, I figure we got 4 really good hockey players here. I just wanted to open up to you. What happened at the end of USA Canada? How are they going to leave McDavid open in the slot like that? What happened? You guys watch that game? Well, give me your guys' breakdown. How are we going to allow that to happen?
Puck in the corner. I think Matthews, followed the guy. I think it was Marner. Followed Marner in the corner. I think left McDavid wide open in the slot, and you can't do that.
You can't do that. You can't leave one of the best the best player in the world wide open. Guys, other guys, do you have any takes, any thoughts on USA Canada, or are you guys still trying to regroup after that? No.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see that, you're leaving the best player in the world wide open in the slot. It's a tough situation.
You can't do that. You just can't do it. See, if I was, whatever, that might be a different show. We'll save that for a different show. Gentlemen, I know you guys got things to do. You got to get ready for this postseason run. Just looking at the bracket again, you're going to have either Somerville or Assabet Valley in your round of 32 game. So best of luck to all of you moving forward into the rest of the state postseason. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
All right, shout out to the Medfield boys. I just had to get there. You got hockey guys sitting here. You got to understand, how do you leave them open? Did you watch the game? How do you allow that
I saw the last 10 minutes of the game, and it was amazing. The atmosphere was incredible, and to leave McDavid like that, he just knew what to do. He knows what to do with it.
Can't allow that to happen, but it's all right. We move forward and we look into Division 2 now. We get back on track with Division 2 boys hockey next. So let's take a look here, Pete. I see Billerica number 1, again, to nobody's shock. You got Woburn at number 2, and I do want to talk more about those top teams in a moment. But again, looking at the teams in the 20s and 30s that were able to lock down their spot, I see number 30. We have one preliminary game, from what I can tell here, in Division 2. Number 33, Agawam, going to play number 32, Newton South, in a preliminary round game, and the winner of that gets Billerica, so a nice little gift. You get your win, and then you get the top-seeded Billerica, whose only loss was to Woburn, from what I can tell, in the regular season this year. So that's a nice little gift for whichever team can get through that preliminary round game. But Billerica 1, Woburn 2, Canton 3, and then you've got Tewksbury 4. Tewksbury was in that title game last year, went down to Boston Latin 4-2 in that title game. So Tewksbury, they want to get back to it and find their way back to that title game. Boston Latin, who I mentioned, the reigning champs. If I can take a look around the block here and find them. Let's see, I spy with my little eye.
10 and 20. Yeah, they'll have Algonquin over on the round of 32.
Got it. Yep, there they are.
A 10-23 bracket. 2 strong, traditionally strong teams. And so maybe a little bit down from where they've had in the past, but that's a good matchup. And Boston Latin, you got to expect a strong performance by them. And for Algonquin, they've been in good tight playoff games before, so they know how to play in the postseason as well.
Absolutely. And I take a look at Malden Catholic and the number 12 seed playing the number 21 Silver Lake. Some people might look at Malden Catholic's record and say, what? How are they a top 15 seed? Last time I checked, they're 3-16-1, but I don't see it. I mean, that's strength of schedule, that Catholic Conference schedule. Every other day they're playing St. John's Prep, they're playing Catholic Memorial, they're playing Zavarian, they're playing all of those programs. And although it's been tough in that conference for them, they were able to earn a draw against Boston Latin the other day, and Boston Latin, the reigning state champions. So that should be a little bit of proof for people to say that Malden Catholic, where they're seated, they very much deserve not only to be in this tournament, but to be one of those top 12, 15 seeds. So they'll have that round of 32 game against Silver Lake at home. Just a lot of depth across all these divisions, especially in Division II this year. But as I look around, I mentioned Billerica, the number 1 seed. I think we got Billerica in the building. Let's take a look. We got Billerica in the building.
Yep.
Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
All right, good. There they are. So let's see how many we have on. Can you identify yourselves? I had about 4 of you on schedule, but do we have all 4 here? Can you tell us who you are? There you go.
It's kind of blurry right now, but
yeah.
I'm Dan, senior forward.
Yeah.
I'm Nolan Dawson, and I'm a senior defenseman. I'm James, senior forward.
I'm Timmy Murphy, and I'm a junior forward.
Okay, so thanks for being with us. I'll give you your last names. Danny Viscione, captain. These are all captains. Nolan Dawson, James Columbus, and Timmy Murphy. 18-1-1. What a season for you. Walk us through, how it's been here to play 20 games and win 18 of them.
It's been fun. I mean, it comes with a lot of hard work, but I think sticking together, it's been a lot of fun.
Guys, you've had some big wins. You went out of state. You played down in Providence, against Providence LaSalle Academy. You had wins there. Tell us about the win there out of state with was that at your place or was that down in Providence?
That was down in Providence.
Yeah. What was that game like?
We played a tournament, so we played 3 there, and playing on the Providence Friars rink, it was pretty cool, but we stuck to our guns and just played our game no matter where we were playing, and we got it done. So.
Yeah. And other big victories, St. John's High. Nolan, maybe you can talk about that. Do you remember that game?
Which one?
St. John's High. I guess that would be St. John's of Shrewsbury.
We're scrimmaging them tonight. Yeah, we're scrimmaging them tonight at 5:30.
Oh, no kidding. Okay. So you had a win over them. Do you remember anything about that game?
We haven't played them yet.
Okay. How about, did you play Catholic Memorial? I believe you did.
Yeah, we scrimmaged them at their place.
Okay.
And that was a good game. We won too.
And St. John's Prep?
No, we haven't played them.
Okay. How would you describe the style of play that Billerica High School plays?
We're just sticking together and playing our game. We know what we have to do, and we just get it done every night,
Yeah. Timmy Murphy, what would you say is the strength of your team as you come into postseason play?
I think definitely togetherness. Like, everybody's so close. We played together for so long. I think we have such like a tight knit group, and I think we're ready for playoffs.
Mm-hmm. And James, how long have you been playing hockey?
I have been playing since I was 4.
Okay,
so.
that seems to be the age. I guess you lace it up at 4 years old. Who did you play for at 4 years old?
I played for the Riverhawks out of Tingsboro, or Skate 3.
Okay, very good. Do you have any memories of what that was like?
Remember the first season we went winless?
Okay.
So it wasn't too fun.
Yeah, but you survived it, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. How about hockey at Billerica? Is it one of the top sports. I know Billerica is strong in a lot of sports. Seems to me it has a strong hockey tradition. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely one of the top sports here.
Uh-huh. Okay, so your matchup is going to be as a number 1 seed against the winner of Newton South, a 32 seed, and out of the western part of the state, Agawam, a 33 seed. You know anything about those teams, guys?
We know Newton South is in the MVC too, so they play against Tewksbury and they play Concord and all of them. And I've just watched because I got friends on Tewksbury, so I've seen some games that they've played.
How do they look?
They look decent. I mean, I think we're gonna get the job done now.
Okay, and so you're number 1. Is there added pressure being number 1? Have you had that ranking throughout the whole 24-25 winter sports season, or did you just? I assume you've been near the top all year long. Is that correct? And is that added pressure for you guys?
Yeah, we've stuck number 1 throughout the whole season. But honestly, now that it's playoffs, it's anyone's game. I think that no matter what seed you are, you still have to win 5 games to win the championship. So it's definitely some pressure, but.
So you're ready to go, and we wish you all the best, guys. 18-1-1, the number 1 seed in Division 1. And we'll see how far you can go. We hope you have a great run. Thanks for joining us, Danny Viscione, Nolan Dawson, James Columbus, and Timmy Murphy. It's great to have you on our bracket analysis show. Good luck this season.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is Billerica High School, number 1 seed. It's got to be pressured. They were there the whole time, and then, it's got to be walking. You don't want to fall off.
Sure, and imagine if you're Billerica, maybe a little bit to this point, they might be kind of used to that pressure a little bit, where it's like, hey, if we're not up here in the 1, 2, 3, 4 spot, then something's a bit wrong. So, they mentioned maybe having some issues not winning games early on in the youth career, and you go from not winning any games to being the number 1 seed in high school. So it's a good lesson. Stick with it.
That's making an adjustment, isn't it?
Make your adjustment. Stick with it. If at first you do not succeed, try again. Billerica, they're number 1 in D2, and now let's really dive in here to Division 1, flipping the page a little bit. We talked a little bit about Division 1 with Tom O'Laren from the Boston Herald earlier on to kick off this boys hockey portion, but let's really get into it now. Before taking a look at the top seeds, who we all know, of course, Pope Francis, St. John's Prep, Hingham, Catholic Memorial, and the like, there's one preliminary round game. It's number 33 Medford against number 32 Wellesley out of the Bay State Conference, and the winner of that will play number 1 Pope Francis in the round of 32. Of course, Pope Francis, like I said earlier with Tom, won the state championship 2 years ago. Those guys that are seniors now were sophomores then, so I'm sure they're chomping at the bit to make their mark as upperclassmen, as Cardinals. Mentioned St. John's Prep, they're the number 2 seed. They are the reigning champs. They lost over a lot of guys, a lot of starters at the end of last year through graduation, probably over half a dozen of their all-stars, but they're St. John's Prep, they're the Eagles. They reload. They don't rebuild, so they're number 2. They will play number 31 Andover in the round of 32. They won the Catholic Conference for the 2nd year in a row. They got guys like Mason Luciano, Sam Krauke doing great things up in Danvers. And if I continue to take a look around, I mentioned the Bay State Conference with Wellesley. I think Needham is probably here in the mix as well, such as Natick. Oh, we have a Bay State Conference matchup, inter-conference matchup in the first round between number 15 Natick, number 18 Weymouth. So that'll be fun for all the Bay State Conference fans. I mentioned Catholic Memorial, number 4. They'll have Wachusett in the round of 32, Wachusett being the number 29 seed. And then Needham, they're playing Archbishop Williams. Needham locked down that number 21 seed, Archbishop Williams number 12. But for the Rockets, Matt Rudder and Joe Kaczynski have been doing a great job sort of pacing that Rockets group this year. And I don't know if you knew this, Pete, Catholic Memorial, if I look at them, once again, another top seed, number 4 seed, like I mentioned, playing Wachusett, they have an 8th grader at goalie, Jackson Fleming, who's been getting the job done. I think back to what I was doing in 8th grade. I was probably picking my nose and not playing awesome between the pipes for a Catholic Conference hockey team. But Jackson, he's doing more than I did in middle school or as an 8th grader, that's for sure.
That's amazing. You see that. I see it in other sports where they just come through and there they are, and you wonder what will it be like just 1 year, 2 years, 3 years from now. So that should be good for him. And I also look at the Arlington Catholic Westford Academy matchup as a good one, and also Boston College High. They're not in the top 4; they're number 5, and so they're in position to make their move. And they'll have Chelmsford in their matchup. And in another couple of Catholic schools, Zavarian Brothers against Central Catholic. That's a great matchup. I'm sure those teams are familiar with each other. Zavarian at a number 8 rank spot, and Central at 25. But again, Central Catholic has been there. They can make a lot of noise.
Yeah, you mentioned BC High. Talk about another great goalie, probably the best goalie in the conference, Drew Karlobitz. He's another youngster. He's an underclassman. So that just goes to show what the future of the Catholic Conference when it comes to goalies is going to be. Not just the future, but the present with a guy like Karlobitz and a kid like Fleming. Catholic Memorial. Karlobitz has been keeping BC High in games, keeping the score low, not letting many pucks get past him. And like you said, that's why they were able to lock down that number 5 seed. Not sure if we mentioned Zavarian. Zavarian, of course, as you'd imagine, in here as well. They are the number 8 seed. You did mention how they're going to be playing Central Catholic in that round of 32 game. They beat St. John's Prep earlier this season. It was one of the few teams to do it. I don't know if they're the only or one of the only teams to take down the Eagles this regular season. Devin Gosiak is a great player for the Hawks this year. They lost to St. John's Prep in the semis last year. So I think the Hawks, they might have a little bit of a fire under their seats as well, ready to go. Hingham was the other team that also beat St. John's Prep in the regular season as well. Hingham, the number 3 seed, playing Lincoln Sudbury. I know I mentioned Natick, I think, earlier on. They're another Bay State Conference team, how they'll be playing Weymouth. Sam Hubbard, he's got 20-plus goals this year for Natick, at least 30 points. Last year, Natick only had 7 wins. I know Hubbard was dealing with some injuries during that regular season campaign, but he's healthy. And when he's healthy, good things happen for Natick. Just looking around here, Braintree, I think you mentioned that 16-17 matchup with Marshfield in the round of 32. Braintree beat Pope Francis, probably their best win in their regular season schedule on their resume going into this postseason. If you can beat the number 1 seed during the regular season, that probably gives you a lot of juice going into the postseason as well. Andrew Gaffney has been really, really good for them as well. And looking around the Catholic Conference, St. John Shrewsbury, the number 14 seed, they will have a home game against number 19 Burlington in the round of 32. They've been led by Daniel Minyelkin. So like Tom said when he came on earlier talking about the depth of individuals and student athletes, we could go on. There's just so many here for all of these programs. And Division I, it's going to be exciting. And like I said at the top, we got 4 divisions for the boys, 2 for the girls. That's 6 state champions by the end of the next month or so. How many of them will be repeat champions? How many will win championships for the first time? I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. 224 teams in the hockey across all division, the hockey tournament, almost 3,200 players. And you can imagine at the dinner time across this great state, you have so many conversations about what is our strategy for tonight? How are we going to beat this strong number 1 team? Yeah. We're in the play-in game, but we want to concentrate on that game, and we want to move forward. I think just the conversation about hockey in this area, which is a hotbed. It has been a hotbed for that sport for many years in the state of Massachusetts, and there should be some great matchups as all these players will be lacing it up and trying to bring home a championship to their great schools.
Absolutely. And I know we mentioned Pope Francis being the top seed. We wanted to have them on to join us for the show. They unfortunately could not make it, but best of luck to the Cardinals as they hope to get back into the state championship game and win it for the first time in 2 years. But Pete, this has been great, a great bracket breakdown show, breaking down all of these divisions with you. Thank you to you for being here with me. Thank you to Franklin TV, and thank you to Dr. Bob Baldwin earlier, the top of the program, for his message. And with these brackets now out, you might be thinking, okay, where can I go to a game? How can I see a game? Where do I get my tickets? Go to MIAA.net, follow the tab, go to GoFans. Ensure that you have the app on your phone, have the ticket on your phone. I don't want to be waiting in line, getting ready to cover a postseason game. I don't have my ticket. Download it, have it ready to go. It's GoFans. If you need more information on getting tickets so you can see your son, daughter, grandson, niece, nephew, go to MIAA.net, go to GoFans, and get those tickets. And Pete, I think we should do this again sometime.
Yeah, it's great. Can't wait to get ready to drop the pucks across the great state.
Yeah, well, speaking of sometime, that'll probably be 2 hours from now when we do some basketball. So this was boys and girls hockey. Pete and I are going to have you covered for more a little bit later on this afternoon when boys and girls basketball brackets drop. That's 5 divisions for the boys basketball, 5 for the girls. That's 10 divisions, 10 state champions. We're going to have it all here again for you in just a few hours. So stay tuned. But thank you so much for joining us here today for this boys and girls bracket release show. Thank you so much.